Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christopher Daniels, and this is your 5-Minute Ministry Monday, your weekly dose of irreverent spiritual humor where I take a topic and then deliver a sermon about said topic, 5 minutes or less. Now, for this week, I thought I would talk about something that we are all guilty of doing from time to time, and that is judgment. In a sermon I like to call, "There is so much shade in here, you'd swear it's night." Now with me is my trusted timekeeping device where I have 5 minutes on the clock and I've pressed the start button, so here we go. Judgment. I do it, you do it, everybody does it. And we can judge in really small and inconsequential ways, like when I say ranch dressing is by far the best dipping sauce that has ever existed on God's green earth. And if you do not agree with me, well then you're to really traumatic ways, like when a person or a group or an institution condemns an entire population based upon their race, ethnicity, religion, ability, gender, sex, sexual orientation, and that can have really far-reaching consequences not only for the population but the world as a whole. And we spend a lot of time in self-judgment as well, like when we say, "I should really stop being so judgmental." It's fascinating to notice how pervasive judgment is in our everyday conversation. Like when we see a movie or an art performance and our first inclination is to tear it apart and talk about all the things we didn't like about it. Or when we're talking about a family member, a partner, a coworker, and our tendency is to highlight their mistakes and all the things that really bug us about them and that annoy us. Such as, "I love my new boyfriend, Jeff. He is just the absolute best. Except for the fact that he snores. And when he snores, it sounds like a GD freight train is going through the bedroom. And he chews with his mouth open. I see the food, Jeff. And then he's obsessed with these cooking competition shows, which are just really not my cup of tea. But other than that, he is absolutely fantastic. Well, there's also this laundry list of other offenses, but really I'm able to overlook them because I am such a good person." When we judge another individual, it's really revealing the things that we haven't healed or forgiven within ourselves. When we are judging another individual, it demonstrates that we are not accepting ourselves or them, and we want to be someplace different. We want to be different. So when we're dissatisfied with an event, a relationship, a circumstance, and our go-to is to point out how much it sucks, it's just revealing that fact that we're dissatisfied with ourselves. And all it does is create division and separation. So it's interesting when I hear individuals preach about love and oneness, and from that same mouth comes judgment, criticism, and condemnation. And we know that when you're in a state of judgment, you are incapable of being in a state of love because that state of judgment comes from fear. So if someone begins to judge me, what I do is I put my headphones in and I listen to "This Is Me" from The Greatest Showman, and I bearded lady waltz my way through the crowd. Yes, I do. So if someone is judging you, it's really revealing their relationship with themselves. So try to not take it personally. And if you enter into a state of judgment, own it. Don't try to rationalize or talk your way out of it. Own it. And then forgive yourself so that you can let it go. Now, when my gunkles get accused of being judgmental, they have a fabulous way of handling it, and that is to say, we're not being judgmental, we're being discerning. And I think that's great. But what's the difference between judgmental and discerning? Is it just a matter of semantics? Well, judgmental places you in this state of moral authority. It puts you on this high horse, and it almost gives you this "I'm better than you, and it is my sacred duty to tell you all the things that are wrong with you." And it also allows you to place value upon things. You get to determine whether something is good or bad or better or worse, whatever the case may be. And that's not the inherent value of said object. It's just your perception of it. And judgment tends to be a really ostentatious and very public judgment, whereas I feel discernment is more inward looking. It's more private. Discernment is determining whether something is working or it's not, which requires you first to go inward, which means you're bypassing the ego and drawing from something that is much deeper. And if you're determining whether something is working or not, which means there's a recourse for addressing if it's not working. It may mean that there's a solution to the problem. Judgment has this sense of finality about it. Also, discernment means that it's my view, which means that I can be wrong. Discernment is about taking in information and deciding for yourself whether or not it's working, and then from a grounded place of love and compassion, be able to respond to whatever situation is happening as opposed to reacting. Whew, Lord. Well, that is all the time we have for today. If you would like to catch a full-length sermon, Alchemist Theater Presents Passion is happening this Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. at Center for Spiritual Living at Lakeside and McCarran. Tickets are $15 in advance or $20 at the door, and you can see all this and more. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. I love doing this. I love connecting, and I cannot wait to share next week with you as well.